struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRacing look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Just 2 days prior to the lights going out at Hungaroring in the Formula 1, we have got our own premier single-seater category visiting the Central European circuit tonight. Welcome to round 4 of the Apex Racing Academy Formula 3 Virtual Racing School Super Series. Once again, live from the Apex Racing studio. And, well, I am Sam Fitzpatrick, and I have alongside me once again is Aaron Smith. And Aaron, first, before we get into our host for this round of the championship, a fantastic season so far, and I think particularly Mosport, I think in terms of the quality of the racing, perhaps the highlight so far.
Oh, 100%. I mean, no one expected Jesper Sandström to come out with that amazing performance in that A final. It's one of the best drives I think we've actually seen in a while from these pro drivers. That was the consistency, the pace that he had was absolutely worthy of a champion. And if he can continue that form for this whole season, you know, I predicted at the start of the season he's made some progress, but I didn't know his progress was that good. I was really impressed, and yeah, I think he might be able to do the same thing here at Hungaroring.
Yeah, we've got a clip of how he managed to get past and into the lead last time out. It was a case of working so hard before this. I mean, this is, you know, the easy work almost, because it was a mistake from Gianfranco Pagotto, who led throughout his heat and throughout the A final. And like you said, Sandström had to make up a big gap, and then this was sort of the pressure point. He knew that this was going to be his one chance in the race to get it done, and he managed to execute it very nicely.
It was a spectacular overtake, and he just had that confidence, that speed as we headed into these final few corners, and he just absolutely sent it round the outside. And Pagotto, I think, just didn't really want to take too many risks, and wanted to see if he could get Sandström on that final lap, but unfortunately Sandström just had that little bit too much pace, and of course came away with a brilliant win and extended his lead in the championship.
Yeah, it was super impressive, and yeah, you can see how close Pagotto was at the end of the race, but Sandström managed to take it. It was his second A final victory this season, and it was probably one of his most satisfying as well. And in the championship, that means that he has got a slight lead now over the rest of the order. He already had a little bit of a lead, to be fair, in the championship, but that only went to extend it, and he is now the best part of 30 points, in fact 31 points clear of Pagotto. Diadone in third position, then Zwemstra and Platt. Yeah, Diadone, to be fair, was quite strong last time out, I would say, as well, but I feel like Sandström and Pagotto were the class of field, and Pagotto, fantastic at VAR, we shouldn't forget that either. Oh yeah, he was...
It's weird. I would also like to see a bit more of a challenge just from the rest of the pro field. And of course we have the Simrace Sweden guys back for this round. We have Arvidsson and Olsen now. So maybe they might be able to take the challenge to Pagotto and Sandström, but in terms of the championship, I just think Sandström needs to... He's got a comfortable gap in terms of pro standards, as these guys, every point matters more than the other series, and I'd say. And if Sandström can just keep it clean, keep those finishes up, and possibly just finish inside the top 3, it's looking good for Sandstrom.
Yeah, it really is. And in the Pro-Ams as well, really competitive in this one. Christian Glancetter currently with a very small lead, but look how close that is. Edward Pop, who of course promoted to the Pro-Ams for this season. Connor Gibb, we weren't quite sure what to expect from Connor, but he certainly delivered. And of course Ricard Boberg, who is an absolute stalwart of the championship. A bit like Christian Glancetter, those two former Crips Racing drivers, and of course are still teammates now as well. And in the amateur standings, as it currently is, Paul Joseph Clist leads the way. And he's ahead of Dorian Roy, but only by 2 points. Is a new driver to the amateur standings though this time, Josh Sentance. I'm not familiar with Josh. He's been on iRacing for a while though. Have you come across Josh at all so far?
Not really. I haven't seen too much from him, but I mean, it's always good to see new drivers, and we've seen some new drivers who've come into series before and just been amazing. We might get some of that today. It would be a nice surprise if we could have a bit more of a fight in the AM, and I think as well, like we've said in previous weeks, whoever gets into that A final as an amateur driver, it's looking really, really good for you. You just have that little boost on your rivals, as I don't think we had any AM drivers who actually got into the A final.
I don't think Chris has got into the A final yet this season, so if he could, then that would be absolutely huge. But of course, as well, like, I mean, if Roy could get into the A final as well, that would be a big advantage. Is top 6 once again moving through from each heat spot tonight, and the top 3 going through from the B final to make it a 15-car A final. And we've got about 25 cars out there tonight as well, so it should be fairly even grids for every of the races. In terms of the calendar, of course, for this round, like I said right from the start, it is Hungaroring for this round of the championship. Got Aragon next time out, that will be a first for the series. But yeah, for this round, Hungaroring, and yeah, like, how do you feel like the drivers what's their positivity when it comes to this round? Will they be, you know, looking forwards to the slow speed corners, the left rights in the middle part of the lap, the curbs that you've got to be careful of, or do you think they will be a little bit sceptical of all those aspects of this track?
I think it's quite a sceptical track. It's very mixed. We were talking before we went live here, and it's you never have a medium race at this track. It's absolutely chaotic, or nothing happens, and it's completely boring. And again, who knows what we're going to get tonight. Let's hope we get a good, entertaining race. There are a lot of overtaking opportunities, especially in these slower Formula 3 cars, and the run down to turn 1 is going to be crucial, especially in that A final where you don't have too many other overtaking opportunities throughout the rest of the lap. But that braking into turn 1, is it going to be like 2021 F1 where we see a bit of bowling going on? Who knows, but let's hope for a clean race.
I do remember the last time we visited here in season 6 of this championship, about 18 months ago. It was carnage at this circuit. Turn 2 was an absolute melee. I think we had 2 races. I think both of them had about 45 cars. So we were sort of asking for trouble on that occasion, and it was an absolute mess. But there you can see some of the footage of the circuits behind us. And yeah, it is quite the change. I mean, personally, and we'd love to know what you think on the YouTube chat, whether you like this circuit or not. Personally, I'm the ambassador for this being a good circuit tonight. I think it's held some fantastic racing, and I think just the way that the corners come thick and fast at you is a good aspect. I think some of the elevation change at times is cool as well. So I'm very much in the pro camp. So yeah, if people could back me up on that,
I'm not.
Would be very much appreciated. So for tonight, I mean, are we expecting another race win for Jesper Sandstrom to take it once again, or do you think we're going to see a bit of a return to VRL where Jesper simply wasn't the fastest driver and it was Pagotto taking the win?
Well, the only reference we have really at the moment is just the practice times, and at the moment Jesper, I believe, was second during practice, so he's looking up there as always. So it's not like this is one of his weaker tracks and maybe he's fallen down to like 4th or 5th. He's still very much in the fight for the win. Qualifying, I think, is going to be really, really important round here. Don't think too many people are going to try and take the slipstream. I don't think it's really worth it round here. So yeah, I think Jesper will definitely be challenging for that race lead. But I don't know if he'll be the outright fastest, but we'll wait and see.
I'll go Arvidsson. I said he was going to win the championship. It looks like that's going to be wrong because he hasn't turned up to a couple of the races. But he's back again today, and so if he is going to win the championship, he really does need to win and save me some grace, honestly. So best of luck to him for that one. And of course, we've still got our Pro-Ams and AMs as well to find out how they do. But we are going to transfer over to qualifying because that's going to be starting in the next couple of minutes. And we'll take the action away from Hungaroring after these short adverts. Welcome to the Hungaroring. The drivers are on their outlaps at the moment for their qualifying session. A few drivers absolutely eager as anything to get out. A few drivers just hesitating as well. I think sort of demonstrating Aaron's point in terms of the draft not being so important, and so they can afford to back off ever so slightly. One of the big things I think for this race and for the whole week, of course, we copy the F3 official series and we copy the tracks and the conditions as well. It is insanely warm for this race, and it is over 50 degrees track temperature, 29 degrees air temperature, which is going to make this already fairly slippery circuit even more slippery.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those tracks where if you hear the words hot track temperature, you might start to shiver in your boots, as this track, as you were saying, is sort of medium, low speed, and especially that middle sector. It's if you get the slightest bit of understeer, which you tend to get in these hotter conditions, the tyres are just sliding around that little bit more, then you are truly in for a change of underpants, as it's terrifying. Just, you know, the car's drifting out wide, you know you might get an off track, and possibly if you run out wide onto the grass or the AstroTurf, as we've seen in practice a few times, drivers just keep on spinning, and it's a very on the limit track, this, especially in qualifying, and we're about to see if what I said comes true.
Yes, and of course you've got all those off tracks and trying to avoid picking them up during the race. They are limited to 16 in this series.
There's one.
Yeah, that is one. Well, is that one? I don't know this circuit well enough, honestly. This is my inexperience on this track, because since this came out, I haven't done a whole lot of iRacing. Do you know where the limit is around that part of the track? Is it the red and white curve? I think it is.
I think it is, and I do believe that was an off track there for Spence. He looked way too wide going into that corner, but he's still pushing on, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. And yeah, I believe the track limits on the exit of turn 4 there are really strict, and that's Jacolson going round. Is that going into the wall? Yes, it is, and that's going to dim his qualifying hopes massively as he escapes back to the pit lane, and he will not be setting a time anytime soon.
Oh, I forgot about this.
It's VR.
This is so good. Oh, he's got his... I mean, this tells us as well that he's got his relative up. And look at that. I mean, this could be the greatest lap of all time, because according to his relative, at least, it looks like he's about 20 seconds up on his previous lap. I hope that's like compared to the world record lap time. However, I feel like it might be compared to a lap that he spun in practice earlier on. So we'll see which one it is when he crosses the line. But here he comes to the line, and Pop goes to 7th. So it wasn't compared to the world record time. And oh, you can see already he's half a tenth up there, so a nice launch onto his next lap. 10 minutes, of course, the drivers have, and they can set as many laps as they have in this session. And well, at the moment, it is 2 Swedes at the top, but it's Alcantech beating Simrace Sweden.
Yeah, the Swedes seem to be dominating this championship so far, and a couple of the Italians as well getting up there. Of course, Pagotto and Diatone 2nd and 3rd in the Pro Championships, but yeah, in practice, I believe it was Arvidsson and Sandström who led the way, and now those positions have swapped, and this time it's Sandström and Arvidsson instead of the other way around. But that, I think they're going to be really, really battling for that pole position, and if it all goes well in that A final, it could be a titanic battle between the 2 Swedes at the top. And if that's the case, I cannot wait. I am shaking in my boots right now. Absolutely excited for that. As we've not seen too much of Arvidsson, of course, this season, which has been a bit of a shame, as he is obviously a fantastic driver. And glad to see him back after he missed out the previous 2 weeks. And we'll see if he can get back onto the top step as Arvidsson goes a 10th ahead of Sandström.
K-Back moves up to the 3rd position. Some big improvements on these laps as well, actually. Yeah, it is very spread out. I think Schnabel's going to definitely improve. I think Schnabel will be able to get within at least 3/4 of a second. Platt moves up into 5th place. There's Aberdeen. Those two are usually very evenly matched with one another. Aberdeen are a little bit unlucky so far this season. There goes Rennsport. But I mean, to be fair, I think you are right in terms of being spread out, as it's great to see so many webcams. Thanks, guys, for engaging with that. Michael K-Back wanting to race in the darkness, having the only illumination in that room being his TV. And, well, it's doing fairly well for him at the moment, is the German. And, yeah, he's still pushing around there. There's going to be another quick lap and pushing it all the way to the limit there. I'm not sure if that would have been a 1x. By his face, he looks very happy, and it looks like he's able to push on still.
Well, he's pushing that car to the absolute limit, and who knows, maybe he's racing in the dark as a new tactic. And also,
well, Pagotto's doing it. Yeah.
Pagotto's camera was really, really good last time out. He has an amazing POV of his triple screens right from his eye view, and it's looking really, really good. But he's not actually set a lap time just yet. We'll see if he can match the pace of Arvidsson and Sandström up at the top. And of course, it would be extremely good if we can have a few more people up there in the middle sector. So far, he is actually matching Sandström. They're only about separated by 100th, which is incredible to see between the two of them. And I think this is going to be really, really close as he exits the final corner. What kind of lap time is this going to be from the Italian? Is he going to go towards the top? And he goes into 3rd, so not a bad lap time, only just under 2/10 away from Arvidsson, and he actually pulled off. So that was, I believe, the only lap time he's going to set.
Josh Sentance on his Apex Racing League debut, currently top of the amateur drivers. Walsh, Lee, as Lee in fact actually improves a bit, PJC and Arroyo near the back of the order. It's just Garrett Spence and Cesar Sebral who are yet to set lap times. It's getting a little bit closer now, so we've now got the top 11 within a second, but still those top 3 bridge slightly to the rest. There is Sentence. Unfortunately, we don't have a paint from him yet, but I think that's his iRacing default one, and it does have Apex Racing Academy on it, which doesn't get you any more speed, but it does get you favours and favoritism. So that is something that I'm sure Josh has been gunning for so far this season, and he's earned it right there, because personally I think Josh is a great guy, and I think I really want him to do well today.
Yeah, I think I always used to run just the default sponsor as Apex or Fanatec, whichever one I was feeling on that particular day when I was creating the livery. As it kind of just goes with most liveries, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. But yes, Josh getting favoritism there, and probably will continue to get favoritism for the rest of the season if he keeps on running a livery like that. But we've actually not got too many people out on a lap time right now. All the top guys are back in the pit lane. We've only got the likes of Aberdeen, Polstrup, Poon, Platt. Those are the pros on a lap right now. And there's Klist. It would be nice if he could do what Pop does and actually
Oh, I prefer this. I think this is awesome. This is like a different, and also the way that he's got his background. I realise that's like a fake background, but it looks almost something like it's animated. It looks really like sci-fi stuff, and he's like hacking into some kind of mainframe, whatever that means. And yeah, awesome. Great work from Paul Joseph Clist, and once again, thanks everyone for engaging with the webcams. Because we've got lots of different angles. This is all the stuff you can do with webcams. It's so cool. So yes, PJC, of course, top of the amateur drivers in the championship, needs to improve. I think he's certainly got enough pace to challenge the likes of Lee and Walsh, but with only 30 seconds to go, this will be his last lap. Arvidsson is not going to be able to complete this lap, but dare I say he's not going to need to, because he's currently top. Sandstrom, though, is going to complete this lap, but I don't think his lap times are any good, because his second sector, by my reckoning, was only over 2 minutes long. So that's not going to worry pole position.
Well, unless that was just a bug. It was the same for Arvidsson, so maybe it is. I'm not quite sure, but he's going to come up to the line anyway. Let's see what kind of lap time this is going to be from Sandstrom. It's going to be his final one. And yeah, no improvements there.
It was only a 10th off, though.
Yeah, I don't think...
So that was a really quick first and third sector, seeing that he managed to go 30 seconds shorter on the lap overall than he did. So he broke the speed of light in the first and third sectors to be able to work it out. So that was impressive. Not a bad effort, but yeah, that second sector just lets him down a little bit. So the grid for race 1, of course, we half the grid and all the odds go into this one, and it is Arvidsson at the top against Pegotto. That's the lineup that we want to see, and Diadone as well up there in third position. Then it's Postrup, Poon, Platz, Glamsetter, Colson, Zentance top of the AMs, Lee, Walsh, and Arroyo. In fact, 4 of our 5 AMs, I think, are in this race. So bad luck to Paul Joseph Clist, who's been bolts with all the pros and the pro-AMs.
You never know, it might actually pay some dividends if they start fighting a lot and just all take each other out. But yeah, Paul, I mean, Clist was, he's got some decent pace on him, and we'll see if maybe if Josh and Clist both get into the A final. That's asking a lot. I understand it's asking a lot, having 2 amateurs in that final. But if it does happen, I think they're going to be pretty evenly matched. But I think more likely they're both going to be in the B final, and we might see a battle between those 2 there. Got only 2 pro-ams in this race, Glamsetter and Colson. They were fairly evenly matched as well in qualifying. And yeah, we've got a pretty decent Heat 1, I'd say, on our hands.
Yeah, I think those top... Well, Postrup has been sort of competitive. He's a new driver to ARL, so we're still sort of judging his pace. But I think VIR, he was really, really strong, was Ole. There is the track temperature, 51 degrees, and you can see time itself has stopped. They're all going at the speed of light because it's still 10 past 2, and so it will not be cooling down. 51 degrees. Thank goodness they're not there in person. It's going to be warm, and it's going to be quick as well. Here we go for race 1, and it's a fantastic start for Gianfranco Pagotto, who's already alongside. They're almost making contact. They've got to leave more room than that, guys, because they're almost intersecting one another. There is a little bit of a touch between the 2 of them, and that was incredible stuff, but already a lock-up, and Arvidsson is going to have a lot of work to do now for this Heat 1 in order to get himself back in play, because the pole sitter is now down to 4th place, straight away trying to get back past Ole Postrup there.
Yeah, we have a big contact in the back. That was Glansetter, I believe, and that's also Poon going off. Glansetter definitely was involved in that. He seems to have gotten away just about, though. We'll see if he has damage at all. But yeah, Arvidsson kind of doing a Hamilton there and just completely going off into turn 1. Outbraked himself on those cold brakes and tyres. And yeah, as you say, he's going to have a lot of work to do. And it's not long either. We've only got 9 minutes left in this heat already. And Pagotto, this is his absolute chance to try and gain a few on Sandstrom.
Yeah, really does need to take this advantage now. Pagotto would have known that this is a very tough heat for him to be in. And so, yeah, he's got, you would have known it would be tricky to beat the likes of Diadone, Prostrup and Arvidsson, but he's ahead of all of them at the moment. And on one of the twistiest circuits of the season, he'll feel much more confident than normal to keep them behind to the end of the race. Already, though, Arvidsson is looking to get past Prostrup. The gap is only 0.2 of a second. And into turn 1 on lap 2, I feel like the currently second place Swedish driver in this race is going to be looking to get past.
Yeah, the two Swedes followed, actually in front of them is 2 Italians, 2 Swedes, then a couple Brits, and very mix of nations in this grid. But here goes Arvidsson into turn 1. Prostrup tried to be a bit defensive, but ultimately there wasn't too much he could have done about that. And there's Arvidsson up into 3rd place, a Swede for a Swede. And he's still got Diadone to try and get past as Pagotto starts to just pull away from everybody else now. Already 0.8 of a second to his fellow countrymen. And like I say, this is Pagotto's opportunity that he probably was hoping for in this race. He got an amazing launch off the line compared to Arvidsson, and the way that they were basically hooking on to each other into turn 1 was...
It's Sentance.
Sentance, yeah. I think he might have been clipped by Glamstetter.
No, I think he just clipped the curb on the outside. There's a very slippery curb, which we saw in the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship, where one of the core sim racing drivers, I think it was Newman or Styx, did the exact same thing. And I think it's a recurring issue, whichever car you drive, where if you just like clip the green curb in a certain way, it just spins the car around, so into the wall. And that was a shame because Sentance was only 1 place away from getting into the A final. There would have been on pole position for the B final had he kept that place. Dare I say, he's not out of question for the A final. He will be starting near the back for the B final, probably in 11th position, unless something big happens in front of him.
Yeah, he's going to need a bit of luck on his side, but we've seen crazier things happen in these races, to be honest. So let's. He's got some good pace as well. So unless he maybe has a pro or maybe even a pro-am in that race, as Poon looks likely that he's going to miss out. For now, anyway, on that A final, and he will be pushed into the Consolation as he didn't have a very good start to this race. And as we watch the battle now for the 1st place in AM, as I believe Andy Lee has got some damage on his front wing. I'm not 100%.
Because Poon went off earlier on, and we think it was Glamstetter who made contact. I wonder if there was anything involved as well with Lee in that as well. Of all the tracks to get that front wing damage, probably not too bad. It usually affects you down the straights more than the corners. So you'll still have a chance, but he needs all the straight line speed he can get right now, because it does look like he's being held up by Dorian O'Roy. Started ahead of O'Roy, so he qualified ahead of him earlier on. But a really nice start for the Mexican driver, who is runner-up in the championship and could well be leading the championship after tonight if things can go well for him. As here's a few replays, and we might find out what happened to Lee at the start.
Yeah, this the start of this was, there's so much to watch. You've got, of course, the 2 leaders into turn 1. There goes Arvidsson, and hopefully we'll get to see what happened as we head into turn 2 now. It was, yeah, Glamstetter just tapped the back of him, and there wasn't really, you gotta say that's more or less Glamstetter's fault. Just too deep into turn 2, and unfortunate.
So Prostrup was able to get past Arvidsson in all of this as well, and you can see how Arvidsson nearly lost a place actually as well to Dylan Plan. You can also just see in the bottom right as well, Arvidsson continuing to fight. There was the Sentance, and yeah, just dipped a wheel onto the curb as here's contact, and round goes Arvidsson, and through goes Prostrup. Arvidsson will do well to get through into the A final from here, because he's trying to get back going, having to reverse. He doesn't want more damage on that car. It looks like he's got away without too much damage at all there, but he's in 7th position now, and all hopes of winning the A final are surely dashed.
Oh, 100%. I don't think he's going to be too worried about the win in that A final now, as he's even under pressure from Arroyo now. I think he's gotten away without any damage somehow. I'm surprised he actually got away with no suspension damage, but here's Lee trying to get an opportunity on Arroyo, but yeah, not really any overtaking opportunities there for Lee to make the best out of, as Arvidsson just starts to stream away now, but he's got a huge gap if he wants to catch up to Glamsetter. We know Arvidsson is quick, but I don't think he can break the speed of sound, unfortunately.
Well, he did break the speed of light in Sector 1 and 3 earlier on.
Yes, that is true.
So, you know, it is a possibility. And some as well. I mean, it was really, really impressive stuff. Yeah, like, those two were battling very hard, and I don't know, I think Arvidsson was on the outside. I'm sure we will get a replay of it as well later on in the race, but at first glance, it looked like Arvidsson sort of squeezed him, but unnecessarily, as here comes the battle for the amateur lead. Lee has been waiting for this for a while, but there goes that extra drag he's got down the straight due to that front wing damage. He pulls out once again, though, and into turn 1, he's getting ahead. He is fully ahead, and the Andy Lee is now up into 8th position, but Arroyo is coming back again. He knows how important this position is. They are very close to one another, but eventually it is Lee who gets ahead and can maybe start to pull away.
It's going to be difficult for him to pull away with that damage, but with that damage, he's got some really, really good pace to actually get an overtake done. So fair play to Andy Lee for that. But I guess if one track the damage wouldn't affect you too much, it would probably be round here. As Sam said, it more affects your drag down the straights than your actual cornering ability, which is kind of weird, but I mean, it's how iRacing works. And yeah, he's really, really impressed with that speed that he has. And also, speaking of people who might not be able to get into the A final and will be in the Consolation, there's going to be 2 pros at the moment in that B final, which is going to be hell for some of these amateur drivers to try and get themselves into that A final, maybe with a bit of luck. But, only the top 3, and we have 2 pros, which is going to be very, very worrying for maybe even some of the pro-ams that might be not able to get through.
Yeah, because we've got a lot of pro-ams coming up in Heat 2, haven't we? So you'd expect a fair few of them not to get into the A final. Yeah, will be a lot of pressure. It does really demonstrate just how important these heats are. I mean, I know that the B final is always there as a backup, but yeah, unless you are one of the fastest drivers, there's absolutely no guarantee that you will necessarily progress, because yeah, we can have a very high quality field. We're going to have one more lap after this one. Just keeping an eye on that Arvidsson gap. It's down to 4 seconds now. And on that last lap, he gained by 1.5 seconds. So if he keeps catching the rate that he is, he's going to be about 1.5 seconds behind at the checkered flag. So he won't be far away, but it won't be quite enough. He has just set the fastest second sector though of anyone. He gained a second through the second sector alone on the previous lap. So that's the rate that the Sim Race Sweden esports driver is coming back at these guys. And you can see on the timing tower on the left that gap just constantly coming down to 3.3 now.
Yeah, it's really, really close. It's going to be close towards the end, but unfortunately, like I said, he's not anything magical. He can't break the laws of physics, unfortunately, to catch up to Glamsetter, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe if he had one more lap. But
it was the incident. He squeezed him, I think, a bit there. And then you can see the initial contact sort of forces Diodone to push wide. You'll see there's initial tyre-to-tyre contact, and he has to correct the car, which forces him to go out a little bit further. Maybe I'm being a bit wrong now. Now I'm making up that, but it was just the one contact, really. And I do think he was pretty much as tight as he could be, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think they were really pushing the limits of giving each other space there. Arvidsson really, really wanted to get past, but unfortunately did just didn't leave him enough room. And yeah, I actually do kind of agree with you. I think that initial contact definitely unsettled Diodone's car and kind of pushed him into Arvidsson a little bit. But I mean, either way, I think contact was inevitable between those two. And of course, we never like to see contact in this series. We always love good, clean racing. But I mean, there's one Italian, I would say, benefits from Arvidsson unfortunately being taken out of contention for this race. Another Italian is absolutely loving life out in front. He's got a gap of 3 seconds over 10 minutes. and he's going to be incredibly happy with this victory, surely, and I think he deserves it the most.
Yeah, and what an advantage it is. It is usually an advantage to be in Heat 1, arguably better to qualify in 3rd place than it is to 2nd place, because it gives you the opportunity to get pole position for the A final, and that is what Gianfranco Pagotto is going to earn for himself. It's another Heat victory for Pagotto, and it's another A final pole position. Glamsetter has got past Yukulson, and then alongside, with just 1 corner to go, Glamsetter has been able to get past right at the close, and Arvidsson got past as well. What happened to Yukulson? Yukulson is absolutely just in despair and on his webcam, and well, what a disappointment for the Greeks Energy sim racing driver. We knew that it was going to come down to just a 2.5 seconds, and in the end it was by 300ths according to our timing screens that he was overtaken and will not go straight through to the A final.
Well, that is not the first time. If it is fuel, that's not the first time we've seen that this season. And I think if they're using some kind of fuel calculator app, whichever one they're using, it's wrong. Or if they're doing it themselves, then they might want to make sure they get it right, because that's what, the 3rd or 4th time we've seen that this season.
Yeah, I remember it happened to, I think it was maybe Paul Joseph Clist earlier on in the season, and it's happened again. So there is Sandstrom on the pole position for this race. Aberdeen, K-Back, Schnabel, Zwemstra, Gibb, Boberg, Pop, Simonson, Spence, Cabral, and Clist rounding out the 12 cars. You can see a lot of green on there, a lot of Pro-Ams, only 2 Pro-Ams in race 1, 6 Pro-Ams in this one. Only 2 AMs in this one compared to the 4 in race 1 as well, and a couple less pros, but still a very competitive field. But Sandstrom really will be looking for the win and nothing else to give him the best chance at tonight's overall victory as we launch away for Heat 2 of the evening. It's a good start for his teammate though. Lee Aberdeen is moving alongside, and you wonder what will the teammates decide to orchestrate. You can see 4 of them up in the top 5 as it stands, and it is a comfortable run into turn 1, but Aberdeen has lost it, and he's trying to avoid his teammates, and they have all collided. We've got 5 cars involved, 4 of them I think picking up significant damage, and Lee Aberdeen, he had a fantastic launch off the line. It went south very quickly for the man in the Southern Hemisphere.
Well, I mean, this is kind of reminiscent. I said there might be bowling, and that was kind of just a roadblock, to be honest. And, well, Sandstrom is thanking his lucky stars. He's already got a 1.3 second lead as Schnabel tries to defend from Kaibach as well, who stays in 3rd place. We've got the likes of Cesar Sobral, who is up 6 places already, up into 5th. Garrett Spence, an AM driver, into the top 6 already. Can he stay there, though? Of course, we're going to wait and find out over the next 9 minutes. But yeah, Lee Aberdeen there. We might have another 2 pros getting into that B final. It's going to be nearly impossible for any of the AMs or Pro-Ams to get in.
Yeah, Spencer's had the potential on a couple of occasions this season, I think, to get into the A final. This is another high potential race for him because he out 4 places. He is right in the box seat, and you can see he's staying with the likes of Cabral, and might be able to get past. Well, did qualify ahead as well of Cabral, so he can certainly beat him as he tries to get past now. The No Limits driver Cabral struggling to get any pace, any grip at all, and of course that will only overheat those tyres on this blistering circuit and will only decrease his pace and his grip further. He's having to go super defensive now with Simonson dipping into the drop. Pop is catching up to these guys at an incredible rate at the moment. The 2-4-3 going to have to go the long way round. Dare I say, Cabral may outbrake himself into turn 1, but actually he keeps it absolutely perfectly on a dime. Wasn't a good apex speed, however, and Simonson is up in to that final transfer spot.
Yeah, that was a really, really good, intense few corners there between these guys. And Spence up into 5th now. He's got a bit of a buffer of 1 place, and we might actually see him get into the A final, which, like you say, he has had the opportunity to, but I believe it was round 1 at Road America where he had the chance, but unfortunately made a mistake. As here's Edward Pop trying to get past Cabral, as Cabral doesn't seem to be having that good of pace right now. He seems to be really, really struggling out there and holding other cars up. And I don't know if it's because he's just overcooked those tyres on that first lap with that big lockup and, of course, slid into the second to last corner. But, yeah, really, really holding up Pop right now, who is eager to get past.
both Rennsport and Aberdeen needing to take repairs. They went back to the pits and took their fast repairs. Rennsport will be so frustrated with that one. Mega unlucky, didn't really do anything wrong, and I think if anything he sort of behaved in a way in order to avoid contact with his teammate if at all possible, but he wasn't able to do it because that car was perfectly 90 degrees. It was almost an amazing police maneuver, honestly, in order to stop any potential bank robber from being able to proceed any further. Yeah, unfortunately, the man he caught was his own teammate. Sandstrom leading by 1.6 seconds. Here comes Pop. He cannot lose any more time behind Cabral, who, to be fair, is starting to get a bit more of a rhythm now, but he is still losing time. And Pop will be soon under pressure from the Caribbean driver of Gibb behind if he doesn't get past 18.
Yeah, Pop, when you're in this situation, it is... This is one of the reasons why I don't like this track, because you're kind of just stuck behind and you can't do anything.
But this is good. Oh, here we go. You got to get creative, like Pop is doing. This is the type of stuff I love, because it reminds me of Formula 1 when no one can overtake, and that's the type of sim racing that I like, because yeah, it's just good memories of bad races.
Are you one of those drivers that is constantly holding people up then?
No, because my qualifying is absolutely rubbish, so I'm usually the one trying to get past, but I know maybe it's some kind of sadist thing where I really dislike, or I enjoy being frustrated not being able to overtake other drivers, as Gibb is going well beyond the track limit. Here is the race start, and watch out for the driver in the middle there, Aberdeen, who just spins it on a top under braking.
Yeah, it's kind of like the opposite of what we saw from the likes of Arvidsson, where Arvidsson locked the fronts going into turn 1 and Aberdeen just locked the rears going into turn 1. And yeah, pretty much everyone who took that inside line had nowhere to go, apart from a few drivers who just sneaked through. And it really does.
I think that was Spence.
Yeah.
He was going through. Oh, man. That's unlucky for
Spence.
And yeah, here was the move for Simonson.
Yeah, we have seen Simonson in practice struggle a little bit, but during the race is going quite well at the moment. And currently in the top 6 to go through into that crucial A final as he battles along with Spence. And there's Pop trying to get past Cabral. He's choosing to go around the outside of turn 3. And also Connor Gibb trying to get involved in this battle. They're going side by side into turn 4. Is Gibb going to get ahead? He does. That was a very, very impressive overtake. Pop trying to get past, back up the inside, but unfortunately there was just nowhere to go there. And Connor Gibb, round of applause to that man. What an overtake.
Oh, man. Well, you love to see it. You love to see it. I really thought as well that he was really playing with danger, because we've got, you know, this is a European server, and we've got a man located in Trinidad and Tobago, and we've got a man located in Brazil. So you've got to be very careful of the ping, and he left millimetres under braking, and I think it was those millimetres under braking which perhaps unsettles him. And when you've got a nice gust of wind caused by a commentator curse as well, that could be the final nail in the coffin. So that's a shame for him, and it might mean that Rennsport and Aberdeen do gain 1 place by the end of this race, but we have only got 3.5 minutes to go. And these two have got, these two are a bit more secure now. Pop with an awful lap there because he wasn't able to get past Cabral. Spence and Simonson should be safe, but honestly, Garrett this season has, and I think he has admitted this on multiple occasions, lets himself down on some occasions in these heats. He just needs to keep it in a straight line. He can afford to lose out to Simonson, it doesn't matter. But Garrett is so close to getting into the A final. It would be big points for him in the championship.
It would be big points, and also, you know, get himself into that A final. It just gives him that bit of comfort that these AM drivers so crucially need. And he just needs to keep his head here, to be honest. He doesn't have to fight Simonson too hard, to be honest. If Simonson is very obviously quicker, then just let him through and take it easy and cruise home and finish inside that top 6. I think that would be the sensible thing for the American to do. But I'd be lying if I said I still do not feel guilty about what I just did to Connor Gibb. I believe that's the 2nd time in my Apex history who I've literally said, as I'm talking about a driver, they just decide to spin. So That might be one for social media at some point.
Ooh, yeah, I think that is a big slide there for Simonson. These curves are treacherous. Once again, anyone who's recently tuned in, welcome to the broadcast. Let us know who you are watching or who you are supporting. Yeah, we might share them on screen a little bit extra. But the track temperature out here tonight is 51 degrees. It's the same as what is in the official series, so anyone who has done the official series will be familiar with these conditions already. We'll have setups available, and of course these drivers do get a 1-month free subscription to Apex Racing Academy when they sign up to the championship, and well, that can be used for a bronze subscription, which subscribes you to 1 car. And I imagine the F3 would probably be a wise choice for these drivers to pick, or they can get a silver subscription and get access to over 20 data packs for a variety of cars and series. And that covers a lot of different categories as well, from ovals to road to rallycross and much more. Here was the spin. Was there contact, you think, on the nose? I don't think there was. I
think there might have been slight contact. It did look like a very unnatural spin. It did look like something just pushed him into a spin. Yeah, we might have to get an onboard at some point of that to get a better view of it. But someone who we've not really talked about too much in this race is Jesper Sandström, who has kind of not really done much. He led away into turn 1 and hasn't looked back as everyone behind decided to mount each other. And I also want to give a quick shout out to K-Badge in 3rd, who has kept up brilliantly with Lennart Schnabel. Maybe racing in the darkness is the way to go. I don't know, but he's really got some good pace here at the Hungaroring, and is actually putting Schnabel under some kind of pressure on this final lap.
Yeah, well, Schnabel certainly feels that pressure. He's breaking the draft or making some kind of defensive maneuver. This is worth, I think, 3 points, as Kliss has just got past, or just Kliss is being caught by Gibb at the moment. Yeah, a couple of points at stake here, plus 2 places on the grid. Schnabel would be delighted if he could start on 4th for the A5. I don't think Lennart's being very confident around this circuit. Back at VIR, it seemed like he was faster than Sandström. Decided to stay behind him, but I think in terms of pure pace, he was faster that day. But tonight, very much the Swedish teammates who has the better pace. As Bukebak just bottoming out as he went over those curves, has lost him a couple of tenths. And around this part of the circuit, there really is pretty much no overtaking spots from here to the checkered.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate, which is the Hungaroring for you, just unfortunate. And this battle between Cabral and Pop resumes. Is this Pop's absolute final chance to try and get past here at the chicane? There might be contact, and there is. That was netcode. And Cabral there sensibly, I think, slowed down just to let Pop back through. And they stay where they were as they exited the chicane. But once again, Sandström is going to take victory in this opening heat. He's been really, really good today, just as Pagotto did in Heat 1. And he takes the flag and wins here in the Hungaroring. His teammate Schnabel comes home in 2nd, and like I said before, K-Bash, an amazing performance by him to finish on the podium, and he will start 6th. Garrett Spence is a driver going into the A final, and a superb 5th for him, as Simonsen couldn't really mount enough pressure to get past. And Pop finally got past Cabral, albeit in very awkward circumstances, but Cabral being fair there and let him back past. But they will not be going into the A final just yet, and will have to fight it out in the B final. And Kliss also made a mistake on that last lap, which gave Rennsport and Aberdeen another place.
Yeah, so Kliss will be starting from the back in the B final, just like he did in his heat as well, as we transfer over very quickly. And we've got 14 minutes of B final action coming up, and dare I say, this will be a very interesting B final, because after those results with the top 6 moving through straight into the A final, the rest go through to the B final, which consists of Håkon Jökulsson on pole position. Then it's Pop, and then we've got Lee, Cabral and Arroyo and Gibb and Walsh. And then we've got the 3 pros, Rennsport, Poon, who I wouldn't say Poon feels very confident out here tonight. His pace didn't seem very good in Heat 1, albeit he was biffed off into a wall on turn 2, so it's tricky to judge. Aberdeen there, and then Josh Santansu looked fairly strong, and Paul Joseph close to rounding out the 12 cars. Who do you think is going to go through in this one?
It's difficult because obviously we know how quick the pros are, but they are starting quite far back. But 4 extra minutes compared to the heat races is, you know, an extra 2 or 3 laps, depending on, you know, how far around the lap we are. But here we go for lights out. Yep,
those 5 lights about to illuminate this Hungaroring circuit, and away we launch. It's a decent start for Pop. He'll be close to your Coulson, but it was actually a nice start from both of the drivers on the front row of the grid. A swarm to the inside of the circuit, desperately trying to get that advantage like we saw in Heat 2. It's the place to be if there are incidents, as the top 2 come very close to contact, but they're all staying in the same order. Top 4 are all in the exact same order. Aberdeen already up a couple of places, Rennsport up a couple of places, so good starts for our Alcantech Pro drivers. But that is exactly the start that your Coulson needed, and he will start to try to drive his own race rather than look in his mirrors.
Yeah, that's kind of the strat here, as you were saying, yeah, that both Alcantechs getting a really good start. Here's Aberdeen trying to overtake into turn 4. He's got to get those moves done as quickly as possible, but the other pro driver in this race, Poon, has not had a good start at all. He's down 2 places from where he started, and really needs to pick up the pace over these next 14 minutes. As yeah, the Alcantech cars going well so far. They've only got 2 and 3 cars respectively in front of them left to go, but they still have to be clean, as their Rennsport going very wide and seems to be getting very impatient already behind Connor Gibb.
And Gibb going way off the circuit, using that 1X. I'm not sure how far you need to go to get a slowdown. I think it's pretty much unlimited there, as Aberdeen is trying to get past as well. Maybe Gibb did pick up a slowdown. He's certainly going very slow at the moment, but I think he's just about all right on lap 1. It would be a huge penalty to pick up a slowdown. And so Aberdeen, you need to kind of weigh up the risk and reward. He knows that he's got a much longer race this time around. There's a fantastic line there for Cabral, who's currently just sat outside the top 3, as Pop is under pressure from Lee. Good pace from Lee in these early stages.
Yeah, and who knows, we might see another amateur driver getting into the A final. It would be spectacular if we did. But of course, he's got the likes of Rennsport and Aberdeen, but Cabral is holding them up beautifully at the moment. As you said, that lovely line through the final corner was playing with track limits there, and somehow didn't get a slowdown for it. But I mean, if it works, I guess, and stays ahead of the 2 pros behind them.
Yeah, you get 16 incidents, so use them all up, or use 15 of them, and you will get no penalty. And yeah, using them tactically is a big skill when it comes to these races. As here comes the move, potentially this, I think, is where Cabral was overtaken earlier on, in fact, in the latter stages of the race by Pop. This time he's not overtaken, but here comes the move again, but the outside turns into the inside, and so it's not an easy place to get the move stuck. And of course, Brazilian connection as well, a higher ping. He's got to be very careful right now, does Kevin Rennsport. They'll go alongside. Surely they can't manage to get through here, but they do, just about enough ahead for the Dutch driver. Has a late swipe there from Cabral. They're almost making contact. They did make contact, and now 2 Alcantech drivers get past, and that was a very tricky maneuver to pull off, but it's not done yet. Inside into the penultimate corner, Cabral trying to keep his nose partially alongside. He can't do it, and Alcantech are up to 4th and 5th now.
Yeah, Cabral being super aggressive there, but now they're 1.5 seconds off of those top 3, which, you know, in these next 11 minutes, I have no doubt that they will catch up to those guys in no time. But Cabral really pushing the limits of what is allowed in this race, as there is Poon, I believe, trying to make a move on Dorian Arroyo up into 9th place, but actually didn't get that good of an exit. And Arroyo now has the inside line for this next corner, and is already ahead. So Poon really struggling in this race, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. I mean, it's a big ask from 10th up into 3rd, but you'd think as a pro driver he'd have a little bit more pace.
Yeah, I think his pace just generally tonight hasn't quite been as high as what we've come to expect from Poon. I think a lot of drivers. I mean, I think Schnabel's not having a particularly great time of it tonight. I think with this high track temperature, it's a fairly newer circuit as well to iRacing. These guys weren't necessarily done race weeks in the past at Hungaroring. And so there is a slight change up to the order from what we're used to. Top two have pulled away. Lee, with a really good start. He's actually had a bit of a rubbish lap though this time round. He lost 0.8 of a second. Well, no, I say 0.8. It was a full second in the first sector earlier on in this lap, and it's put him on the cusp with Zwemstra. I feel like Lee's got to defend this, honestly. There's no point in letting Zwemstra and Aberdeen pass because that only lets one place up. His only chance is to beat these guys and hope someone falls off the circuit ahead. Well, apologies, he just needs to beat these guys. Right now he would advance through, wouldn't he? So I think that's the only choice he's got.
Yeah, it's going to be super hard for him though, as basically the difference between AM and Pro is into the braking zones mainly, as that's where you gain the most time in racing, and which is why it's going to be so difficult for the likes of Lee to defend this. As you see, he's just so much later on the brakes is Zwemstra, and moves himself up into 3rd place and is getting into the A final.
Everyone's going for moves into turn 1. Your Coulson was nearly overtaken. Then there was a big send as well from Gibb. Here's a replay of the race start, and yeah, I'm really impressed by just how well managed Coulson managed to deal with that one. And it has been a very well managed race so far from him. There was a few changes further back, but near the front it was pretty much all in the same order.
Yeah, it was a really clean start, to be fair, from well, compared to the 2 heats that we've had so far, and nobody making too much contact. But this is Cabral, who put on some really good racing, to be fair. It was rough and on the edge racing, but nobody ended up making contact really, and eventually both Alcantech cars got ahead, as that was one of the more aggressive moves from Cabral, moving over on Aberdeen. And this is the POV from Connor Gibb, who must have been bricking it, as I just failed to mention,
oh yeah,
Aberdeen's out of the race.
Yeah, something's happened to Aberdeen. I'm sure we'll get a replay of that soon. It was Gibb then who was right on the inside. Shout out to Gibb, who managed to yeah, go onto like the pretty much a car width to get past Cabral at the start of this lap. But something happened to Aberdeen, and so that is fantastic news for these other drivers. But look how Zwemstra has caught the leaders already. He passed Lee on that last lap, and now he's onto the back of Pop, who I think will be sensible about this one and not fight it. Coulson as well. They both know now that they can get through, both Coulson and Pop, because only Zwemstra is charging through the field. Aberdeen is out of it.
Yeah, and who knows, in these next 7 minutes that we have remaining in this race, it might happen to Zwemstra as well. We're obviously not 100% sure what happened to Aberdeen, but whatever did, it's absolutely hurting his chances, the Alcantech driver, as he looked like one of those guys who was looking more or less that he was going to get into the A final, but unfortunate for him.
I'm not seeing any off-track come up for him, so I wonder if it's a connection issue for Aberdeen.
I'm not 100% sure, because I did see him tumble down the order and then go to the pits, so I think maybe he did have an incident but somehow didn't go off the track, which would be really weird. But yeah, Zwemstra right now is putting in
apologies.
pace.
Lee Aberdeen crashed. I was just not scrolling up far enough. But yeah, something did happen to him, and I'm sure we will get a replay of that soon. And here it is, in fact, I believe. This is, I remember Kyoto Argo Marteau made a similar mistake to this, getting on that curb and into the wall. Meanwhile, on live pictures, Zwemstra has overtaken Coulson on the last corner, as there's another replay. He was well on that curb, way too much curb there to safely take that lap after lap.
Yeah, he was really pushing the limits, and he kind of had to, but here's Coulson trying to fight back against Zwemstra, but just did not have bravery that Zwemstra did into turn 1. But now it's going to be a battle between Coulson, Pop and Lee, as Lee, as an AM, is putting in some really competitive laps compared to the 2 guys in front of him. As I say that, he just ran wide there through turn 2. But I think maybe Lee just wants to sit behind and let Coulson and Pop battle, since if he does get involved, it could end in tears for all of them. And of course, that's not what you want, but as soon as I said that Lee's putting in some good laps, this first sector hasn't been too great. He ran wide in turn 2 and then bottomed out at turn 4, but I don't know if Jacolson and Pop are going to fight. It would be weird if they did, since there wouldn't be any points for it.
Yeah, I think though it's sort of that case of what is it? I think there's well, yeah, that, and also I think there's like a saying in a movie where someone's running away from a tiger, and it's a case of, can you outrun the tiger? No, I just need to outrun you. Which I think, and Lee is currently the tiger in this scenario, and your Coulson and Pop are basically trying to get ahead of one another, knowing that, you know, whoever is behind is going to have to fight with Lee and will be gobbled up by Lee. And they won't be the man in second place overall in this race in order to avoid any such fight. Watch out for Connor Gibb as well. Gibb is catching up to these guys extremely quick, got the gap down to 1.1 seconds. I feel like on that last lap it must be at least half a second faster, maybe in a full second. Look at that, 1.2 seconds faster was Connor Gibb. He will be with these guys easily by the end of this race. And yeah, huge chunk you can see coming out of the gap that last time out.
I do believe on that last lap he definitely got off track somewhere, so yeah, he is pushing that F3 car to the absolute limit, which of course we love to see, and maybe if he can continue on his form right now, he will be in that battle as well for those final few spots to jump into the A final, as Rennsport is just starting to pull away by quite a margin now. It's nearly at 2 seconds, but again, this is the trouble with the Hungaroring. There's no overtaking opportunities pretty much after turn 2. Maybe turn 4, sure, but it's a bit of a risky one. And then you kind of have to wait for the rest of the lap or wait for someone else to make a mistake. And yeah, I don't like it.
Jay Walsh lost 2 seconds earlier on in this lap, by the way, if you saw him lose out to Josh Sintance. That is why he went off, I think, at turn 1, so that's why he's down to 9th place and in the clutches of Dorian Arroyo. Arroyo and Clist are top 2 in the amateur championship. At the moment, they stand to finish in 2nd to last and 3rd to last out of everyone tonight. So a good opportunity for Lee and particularly Spence to gain points, but obviously if Lee can get through, then he's got a fantastic chance as well. 15 drivers going through to the A final. Our biggest good of the evening is Lee sort of trying to simulate the DRS there by kind of using that 1X, that you've got a limited availability for them. And here he goes, he's looking to the outside, then the inside. Pop maybe moving across a little bit as well. He knows the stakes here, and Gibb catching by another 0.2 of a second that last time. Here comes Lee again on the outside. He's got slightly better straight line speed, but I think from this position it should be fairly simple for Pop to hold on.
Yeah, if you defend the inside, it's basically, yeah, I've basically kept the position most of the time, unless your opponent has just immense amounts of balls as we head into turn 4 now. As oh, there's a bold move from Andy Lee getting past, and there's Pop going very, very wide. Surely that
could be a slowdown.
Yeah, that's probably a slowdown there. He went very wide trying to keep the position, and didn't even keep it. In the end, he gets very close to the back of Andy Lee into the chicanes of 6 and 7. But Lee's got the move done, but can he keep it? There's a poor line there from Pop. Pop's really, really struggling now. I wonder if it's got to his head.
Yeah, well, Lee's getting a couple of car lengths away, and Gibb knows that this is when he needs to go for it, because we've only got one more lap to go after this one. And frankly, I think Lee should be safe because the top 2 behind him are battling very hard. And yeah, I thought that Pop, because I think it's all about when you rejoin the circuit. It's not how far you go wide, it's how when you rejoin the circuit that catches people up with the slowdown. Thought that was going to be the case for him, as Cabral now dropping down the order, extra couple of points for Sentance, Walsh and Arroyo. There is Cabral, to be fair, still in the mix, but the Brazilian down to 10th position ahead of Paul Joseph Clist. Rennsport 3.5 seconds ahead, 30 seconds to go, 1 tour of this circuit to go. Your Coulson looks good, and Andy Lee looks good as well to get through as an AM.
It's been a really, really good performance from the top 2 so far. Coulson's just been fairly calm, not really taken too many risks in this race, and just knows that if he keeps it clean and consistent, he can get into the final that he so desperately needs. And Rennsport has just had good pace, came back through the field, and has been clean doing so. And yeah, he truly does deserve the victory if he does get it. as we are on the final lap. And again, a really good performance by some of the AMs tonight. We saw Spence do it in Heat 2, and now Andy Lee, he's been on par with the likes of Pop and Jacolson in this B final. And I think, again, we've still got half a lap to go, but if he gets it, it's well and truly deserved.
Pop coming slightly back at him on this last lap, but still 0.6 of a second is the difference. And Andy Lee looks like he's going to do enough for Goliath Racing by 36 Tech to book his place in the A final for, I think, maybe the first time this season. As you say, it's been a really good performance from the amateur drivers, and I think maybe the best B final as well of the season. Really was very engaging. Lee Aberdeen wasn't able to keep it on circuit. He crashed out, but his teammate Kevin Wemstra, after his disappointing Heat 2, was able to take the race victory. Jacolson gets through. He wipes the sweat off after running out of fuel, remember, in his heat. He should have been through in his heat, honestly, but he does get through anyway in the B final. Lee finishes in 3rd place. A little bit of context in the background. Pop misses out, and so does Gibb as well. They'll both be disappointed, along with Poon, Sentance, Walsh, Arroyo, Cabral, Clist, and Aberdeen. We are going to go to a quick advert, but we'll be back with you very soon on Apex Racing TV. Welcome back to Hungaroring. Of course, thanks to Apex Racing Simulators for supporting Apex Racing League in this championship specifically. And of course, if you want to visit the Apex Racing Sim Centre where we are broadcasting from tonight, you can do so if you are in the UK. Visit Corby and you can try out our virtual racing school simulators. And of course, test out their pedals and their wheelbase, their wheel rim as well, which of course is the same equipment as the Apex Racing team pro drivers use as well, along with of course ESL R1 as well, of course, using those rigs for their LAN events. So yeah, certainly do try out their the equipment, and also just good fun to have a try over here, and yeah, very good for just a solo or as a group as well. As we have got 1 minute left of warm-up before we go to the A final. Of course, it's going to be Picotto on pole position for this A final. And do you think, judging by what we're seeing tonight, that if he can get through the first lap in the lead, that should be safe? Or do you think it's going to be a race-long battle?
I think it's going to be a race-long battle, I really do. I don't think this is going to be an easy task for anyone in this race, whether you're fighting for, you know, 10th or 1st, you know, wherever you're fighting. It's so difficult to follow around a track like this, and it's more about the mental game than anything else. And Picotto, we saw in the first heat, has been really good off the line, and if he can carry that over into this next race, and he gets off the line good, and maybe something goes wrong behind him, and he just keeps it calm and consistent, then he's got a pretty decent chance of winning this race. But either way, I think somebody is going to challenge him, and whoever is going to challenge him is going to give him a tough day.
Let us know in the chat who's going to win this one. Is it going to be Picotto or Sandstrom? Or will it be someone else? I think it would be quite a left field choice. Those two have taken all 3 race victories so far this season. And starting on the front row, the good once again they do look like they are the drivers to beat. But the gridding is just starting now, and we can go through your 15-car order for the final race of the evening. Pagotto for Wave Italy up at the top. Sandstrom, who was able to overtake him back at Mosport to take the third race victory of the season 2 weeks ago. He starts alongside. There's Giuseppe Diodone, Lennart Schnabel and Ole Postjob. Top of the Pro-Ams is Michael Kabak, followed by Dylan Platt, Rickard Boberg, Christian Glamsetter, Garrett Spence all the way up there in 10th position as an AM. Then there's Isaac Arvids, and watch out for him, Jonas Simonsen, Kevin Swemstra, Hakon Nicholson and Andy Lee. Our last driver who managed to sneak through, but even from 15th on the grid, especially with the restart that we can have here at Hungaroring, as was exhibited in Heat 2, that could be propelled up into the top 10 within just a few moments. So the lights coming on then for the final time this evening, and crucial points at stake here at Hungaroring. A final for round 4 of the championship is underway. Pagotto leading us away. It's a strong start, in fact, for the Italian driver, so strong that Sandstrom is dipping into the draft in order to try to get close, or even just to try to hold off Diodone, who's attacking on the inside. Doing everything he needs to do there was the Wave Italy driver from pole position. It's 3 wide further back, with Boberg trying to lose some places. He has lost a few places because he's made contact. Is wiped out Kevin Swemstra again, the man who's had absolutely zero luck on the race start so far tonight. I was trying to gain places was Isaac Arvidsson and all that, and now there's more contact and back into the circuit. Arvidsson will surely go into the wall along with several others. Schnabel around, Postjup round as well, and we have 4 or 5 drivers with significant damage within the first half lap.
I mean, I mentioned that something was going to happen to these drivers, and Diodone as well was involved in that. He's plummeting down the field. About half of our pros have already just left this race. And yeah, I said that if something happens behind Pagotto or Sandstrom, can just, you know, fly off into the distance, and they already have. They're already 3 seconds ahead of Platt, and Arvidsson was so lucky.
In both.
Yeah.
He was, I think he was on the outside in turn 1 and people crashed around it, and then he was on the outside of turn 3, and I thought he was going straight onto the barrier, yes, but he managed to avoid it. Incredible. Yeah,
that was really superb awareness there from Arvidsson to avoid everyone, and he's still in contention for maybe a podium in this race, but I think a race win is a bit tough for him. But I mean, he's done crazier things, especially last season. And of course, we're going to keep a close eye on him. But this is the battle so far for 7th place is Andy Lee. What an absolute chad. He's up 8 places, up into the top 7. And yeah, you can see that about half the grid have come into the pit lane now. And yeah, the top 9 are the only ones that came unscathed in that race. There's Simonsen going very deep into turn 1, and Andy Lee is going to get right back past, and will also concede position to Glamsetter as well, which is going to be good for his championship, as Glamsetter now tries to get past Andy Lee as we head into turn 2, but just did not have the speed that he needed, and Lee keeps on to that 7th place. But Spence, after not having the best of luck and also being kind of at his own fault earlier parts of this season, he's now up into 6th. Just really good performances by some of these guys tonight. And there's Arvidsson trying to overtake Kaibak as they battle for 4th place, and Kaibak is not giving this one up as we head into the chicane, but he just had to, as going too wide into that chicane is not really advised.
Yeah, Arvidsson could certainly easily, dare I say, get 3rd place. I don't think Platt's going to have the pace to hold him behind, so yeah, should be easy enough for the Swedish driver to get a podium out of this, but I'm sure he'd be loved to be battling with Pagotto and Sandstrom. Remember, Arvidsson got pole position in qualifying, but went deep at turn 1 in his heat, and then was involved in a second-day incident with Diodone in when he was storming his way back through the order, which meant that he had to yeah, only just progress into the A final from his heat, but already is onto the back of Platt. These guys 4.5 seconds off the race lead, and he's dipping into the draft. Platt wanting to keep him behind for Greek's Energy Sim Racing, and Arvidsson now diving on the inside. There's a bit of a move there. They come very close to contact, and that is a warning sign there for Arvidsson that he's not going to get this position easy.
Yeah, I could kind of see that one coming. I thought Arvidsson would want to get past Platt kind of as soon as possible. It was a very late lunge, but I mean, they avoided contact just. I'm talking maybe pixels between them two as we head into turn 4. Platt choosing the defensive line as Arvidsson tries the outside. He manages to keep it. We'll have the inside for this next corner, but is not far enough alongside. Is he going to try and go for a send into the 6-7 chicane? We're going to see now, but just too far back to do anything. And it's a very risky move into that chicane as Spence...
Oh, no, he's all right. He's all right.
Oh, but there's contact. And that's Andy Lee sent round, and he's got big damage. He's not got a rear wing. And one of the pro drivers, AM drivers, who was going so well in today. Oh, it's so unfortunate. I'm not quite sure what happened there. I think Spence might have gone wide or something, or made a mistake. And yeah, they all just kind of Constantinaed into each other. But Arvidsson, yeah, as well. Something happened to Arvidsson.
Yep, it's coming up on our screen that he's crashed, so lots of things going out on circuit. Dare I say, you could still probably catch up to 3rd position from here, even 6 seconds behind. Certainly does have the pace underneath that car, but yeah, Platt made that extremely tricky. We're a bit concerned as well for Spence. He certainly got away with running wide without any damage, but then when he had Lee stuck on the circuit straight in front of him, he did clip as well, so could have well picked up some extra front wing damage. Lee having to come into the pits. That's good news for your Coulson, Postrup, Diodone, and potentially even Boberg and Zwemstrup might be able to get ahead as well. Schnabel not going to re-enter the circuit. I think that car's absolutely toast. Had to take back to the pits and realises there's no chance at progressing any higher than 15th tonight.
It's been quite a chaotic A-final, this, isn't it? We've kind of had half the grid involved in many incidents. Of course, we'll find out what actually did happen to Arvidsson. I wonder if he might have gone for maybe an optimistic move on Platt.
It must have been a solo mistake, I think, because it was round this part of the track. Or to be fair, I mean, your idea is very good, because if it was an overtake around this part of the circuit, it was definitely, as you say, an over-ambitious overtake. So, yeah, it was one of those two.
Yeah, and Kaibak as well, still going incredibly well, up into 4. He's just had such a good day as Kaibak, and is, of course, going to help his championship hopes as we're going to have a look at the race start.
Yeah, so there goes the, was it the 2 No Limits drivers who came together? Oh no, it was Arvidsson who made contact, wasn't it? Yeah. And then, I mean, Zwem's just had no luck. Apologies, Schnabel's had no luck today.
Neither has Zwem's either, to be fair.
No. I don't think it was totally Arvidsson's fault. I mean, 3 wide and
squeezed.
And then this was, oh, so Picozzo lost it all by himself, and then it just causes, you're right, Diodone just lost it all by himself and then caused chaos behind. Yeah. I mean, how does Arvidsson miss the wall here?
Oh my God. Yeah, Arvidsson did really well, but yeah, see what I mean? He just got too close to the back of Platt, and yeah.
So already there's been a slot for Spence there. They go either way. And that was, I think, fairly aggressive from, was it Glamsetter?
I think it might have been Glamsetter, yeah.
I think
Spence was the one in the middle of that and kind of backed out, and I think Glamsetter just didn't really know where to go. It might have been Spence, I'm not quite sure, but it was one of them.
It was Glamsetter, I think, with the dive. I think Spence had backed out of it by that point.
But yeah, that was, again, really unfortunate. Lee was going so well as there. Spence nearly losing it into the chicane, and Simonsen really piling on the pressure. We've seen, you know, one AM already have his opportunity snuffed away to get good points. Let's hope Garrett Spence can keep it on the track, as it would be really good for his championship hopes to try and get back onto it. But he's going to have to contend with a Swede behind him of Simonsen, who is currently up 4 places from where he started. But then there's a big old gap to Jacolson, Postrup, and the like behind, who of course got caught up in that lap 1 incident. But I'd say luckily it still manages to keep the car going.
Yeah, we took their faster pairs. There's almost 2 separate races out of the guys who have had to pit and those who haven't had to pit. Currently, leader of the guys who have had to pit is apparently Hakon Nicholson pitted at the start. Yeah, of course he did. My bad. He was just very quick back to the pits. And of course, it's been just generally very quick today. Postup, though, might be soon past. He was, well, pretty much matching that last time round, so not a big difference between the two of them. Posh Pinguino saying, is this bottom split? No, this is a decent strength of field. I wonder if we could get the strength of field up between the pros, the pro-ams and the ams. But we have some, you know, 6K plus drivers in this. There you go, 5.2 for the pros. We'll say that's 3K average. And yeah, 2.8 for the pro-ams and 1.8 for the ams. So it is a good quality field. It's just, it's a very tricky circuit. And the... and some would say a turbo circuit, and also is a very high track temperature as well, so there's not a lot of grip for the drivers, as Simonson demonstrates for the umpteenth time.
Yeah, he's really pushing those Hankook tyres to the limits as they're sliding all over the place with this very, very hot track temperature. And again, I know I've been saying this a lot tonight, but Kaibach, he was putting on the pressure to Platt on that last lap, but I think he's just started to drop away just a little bit. But Kaibach has just had a really, really solid race. But
oh, here we go.
Hello, this is a battle for the lead that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah, he's been sat about 0.3 of a second behind for the last few laps. He's been edging closer as Jesper Sandström, but this is his chance now against Gianfranco Pagozzo. He was able to take his one opportunity back at Mosport, and here he dives on the inside, trying to catch Pagozzo out, but he wasn't quite able to do it. Through turn 3 they go. Now he can pick up the drop, but you really do need to be a decent way alongside in order to make the move into turn 4. He's gaining, but it's not quite enough, and the rest of this lap really is just about setting himself back up for turn 1. But tell Sandström that he is using every trick in the book, but I do fear by sort of making these moves early on, Pagozzo will know where to watch out, because there were a couple of surprising attempts there from the Swedish driver.
Yeah, he really wants to get past. And speaking of someone who wants to get past, bit of contact there between Postrup and Jakobsen as one of the drivers, I believe that's Lee, just tumbling down the order, who moves behind Zwemstra and Boberg. As Jakobsen then just, I wouldn't say he has to fight Postrup too hard, as, you know, obviously every point matters, but yeah, considering that he is still in this race, you know, considering what happened at the start, that huge crash, he's still going fairly well there in 10th place. And Spence as well, you know, AM driver in the top 7, still under pressure from Simonsen, and I imagine this battle is going to continue right until the very end of this race, albeit as long as they can keep it on the track. And Spence running a pinkish purple helmet along with the rims there. Not quite sure how I feel about that along with the livery. I kind of like it. And I kind of...
The fact that his helmet matches it as well,
yeah, kind of
very much helps. So there is some continuity at least to it. I think it's a sort of livery. I mean, bring back the Crips livery, Crips racing livery as well, which apologies, that was a couple of other drivers. Anyway, what move that is from Simonson. Is he able to get it stopped? Well, now he gets the power back on and looks one way. And now he is going to commit to this move. Opens up the line as well, Spence. And Simonson looks like he's got this one complete, because he wasn't early enough on the power, was the American, to retaliate. And Simonson is up to 7th place, and he had to work hard at it as well. Was patient though, but once he got his chance, he very much took it.
Here's Arvidsson trying to catch up to the back of Kaibach and Platt. And the difficult position that Arvidsson's going to be in is these guys are going to be battling, and Kaibach will have Platt's slipstream, so it's not like Arvidsson can benefit from that much. But, you know, when you're the 3rd driver in a battle between 3 cars, it is so awkward. As once you get past the 2nd car, the car that's kind of sandwiched, then you have a lot better chance of getting the move done and moving away from these guys. But Arvidsson, you know, Kaibach has gone really well tonight. He's got some decent pace and didn't get the best final corner there. So maybe what I just said is going to go completely wrong, and Arvidsson's going to move up into 4th.
Arvidsson, by the way, was 7/10 faster on a couple of laps ago than the race leaders. That time he was 3/10 faster. He's been the fastest man out on track for the majority of this race. Really does, really is a big if what could have been for him. And remember, the two in front of him, Platt and Kaibach, both Greeks Energy Sim Racing drivers. Oh, Arvidsson's round again. 3 spins now for Arvidsson tonight, along with going deep at turn 1 on lap 1. And he is very quick, but he's not going to be able to catch that 7 seconds. And that is fantastic news there for Geeks Energy Sim Racing, who are going to be getting a huge bunch of points. And Michael Kabak, you want to see the happiness radiating from him. He'll happily take this 4th position. He doesn't need to overtake Platts. And it will be a very nice day for that team. By far their best day of the season so far.
I really do think that it is really weird how many mistakes we have seen in this race from some of our top drivers, especially the likes of Arvidsson, who have just struggled so much here. They've, you know, that's his 3rd or 4th mistake that he's made, and not going to help his championship hopes at all, as Dido moves himself ahead of Jacolson up into the top 10 now. I don't think there was too much Jacolson could have done about that, as he tries to pile the pressure on the Italian, but I think we're going to see Dido kind of just run away with that one, as Jacolson just slipping further and further down the order. He's kind of struggled in the later stages of this race, as in the background you saw there, he's just sliding a lot. I think some drivers might be just struggling with tyre wear now, as we get towards the later stages, as this is kind of where the tyres do start to overheat and wear off, and it does get harder and harder to drive. The car just becomes so slidey. You kind of drift it into almost every corner, as you're kind of steering with the rear wheels, and it is a really tough challenge, but you know, it brings out the best in drivers, and the ones who don't spin or crash are, well, the ones who deserve it the most.
These drivers now 9 seconds clear. The rest are about 4 seconds clear after the first couple of laps, ever since they've just been eking it out to the likes of Platts and Kabak. And Picotto's lead was as low as, well, a few hundredths of a second at one moment when Sandstrom was trying to get past. But you can see now it's up to half a second once again, probably the most it's been for a good 10 minutes or so, as Kim and Swims just got past Rickard Boberg, by the way. Would be big points for Picotto. Still got a few more rounds of the championship to go after this 10-round championship. This is only round 4, and so it certainly won't be decided tonight, and with drop scores as well. If he can go on a good run of form, then it's very much still in his hands, but he really didn't want to go only 1 out of 4, whilst Arvidsson taking, or apologies, Sandstrom would potentially taken his 3rd race victory of the season. Right now, it looks like he's going to deny him that, as there was some battling with Boberg and Svenstra earlier on, and also the fighting between Simonson and Spenst.
This is what actually happened to Arvidsson. Again, a very awkward spin there. Just spun the car around so quickly. Did he make contact? No, he didn't.
Could it be? It did seem to react a bit odd, didn't it? Like, it did seem like he almost stopped, but
that was very strange. It kind of looked like he hit something invisible there. It didn't look natural at all. You can't really explain that one, unfortunately. I think it might have just been netcode from the car in front, which is really unfortunate for Arvidsson. But yeah, we'll not be getting any higher than 5th in this race, most likely, as we've only got about 1.5 laps to go in this race. Sandstrom's attack on Picotto has kind of just not really been there this race. He's had a few opportunities, like he did a couple laps ago, but just didn't manage to make the best of it. And unless he can pull something really amazing on this final lap, I think Picotto's got this in the bag.
Hopefully everyone's got enough fuel, because we are only just going to make this extra lap. In fact, I'm not entirely sure that we are. We've only got 18 seconds to go, so watch out for the checker flag. The drivers will know, because they'll have the white flag in sim. But I think this is going to be the last lap, because this is a very long final corner, and iRacing tends to be quite harsh when it comes to this. But no, it is the white flag. We cross the line with 2 seconds to go, and so yeah, now it becomes a bit of a fuel game to see if everyone has put enough in. Oh, shame that would be for Greeks Energy if they lost out that. Kabak not looking too concerned. That doesn't look like a man who is empty on fuel. Is he going to go for a move on his teammate? No. They're just going to stay in 3rd and 4th position. That is what they absolutely should do. And yeah, we keep an eye out to see if there's going to be any late changes, because unless there is some fuel issues, I don't see there being any changes of position. Everyone seems fairly set right now.
I mean, whenever I do a fuel calculator, I think most people do this, they just give their lap times a little bit of leeway just to make sure that, you know, they have that extra fuel to be able to reach the end of the race. And some people might have gotten it wrong in this race, but from what I'm seeing so far, I think everyone has just about managed to get it pretty much spot on. And Pigotto still looking fairly comfortable out there in the lead, as Sandstrom has always stayed around half a second to 6/10. It's not really come up or down, apart from when we get on the main straight, and he has a bit of a slipstream to help him forward. But Pigotto has just gone so well in this race. He's kept it cool, managed to defend really well from the cars behind, and just slowly edges towards Sandstrom in the championship.
Yes, it is valuable points that he's going to pick up. Once again, the pair that managed to win their heats. But from the pole position, Gianfranco Pigotto is going to take his second race victory of the season, and the Italian is the triumphant one at the Hungaroring. It's going to be a fantastic day for Geeks Energy Sim Racing. Dylan Platt beating Michael Kabak. Kabak wins in the Pro-Am category. And considering there was some adversity earlier on for him, that will feel very satisfying. Isaac Arvidsson, a miserable day for him. Maybe the fastest driver out there. He got pole position, but with several mistakes and several unlucky incidents as well, he finishes down in 5th position. And Garrett Spence is going to finish a phenomenal 8th position, it looks like. Winner of the amateur category, and really gets himself back into championship play as well. Behind that, Postup losing a bunch of time in the closing stages to Diodone, but it wasn't enough to change their positions around. So we're going to go to a quick advert, but whilst we go back to the studio at the Sim Centre, but we'll be back with you for the final results and a few interviews with our top drivers.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome back to the Apex Racing TV esports studio. We've just had 4 really fantastic races, and in the end, a familiar victor with Gianfranco Pigotto managing to take the race victory. Yeah, it was a really sort of hard-earned race victory there, and because to be under that amount of pressure for 18 minutes is tough to deal with. He found that out last time out at Mosport, honestly, when he wasn't able to, you know, keep it error-free, and he did make that mistake at Moss Corner in the closing stages. Tonight, though, I don't think I saw him miss a single apex in that entire A final.
No, he was really, really flawless, and this is basically what we've seen from this entire season. It's one race Sandstrom, one race Pigotto, and I think that's kind of the best championship you can have. You kind of just go into one race more or less guessing just who's going to be quickest. And you could say Pigotto maybe had a little bit of luck on his side in that first heat of course. Of course, with Arvidsson making a lot of mistakes tonight. But either way, he coped with the pressure and beat Sandstrom fair and square on track. And I believe Sandstrom's going to be a little bit, you know, annoyed, maybe kicking himself a little bit, but he's still leading the championship, so the momentum is probably with him, I'd say.
This is, I think tonight was a good example of a bit of an idea I've had when we've done these elimination heat formats in the past in various series like Porsche Cup and F4 and of course F3 in the past as well. Is third place better to qualify than second place? Because if you qualify second place, you can't start on pole position for the A final. If you qualify third, then sure, you're giving yourself a task to be able to win that heat and get on the front row, but it is still in your hands. I mean, how do you see that?
I mean, one, it's difficult to, place yourself exactly where you want in qualifying anyway.
It was a close qualifying as well between those top
Yeah,
four.
it was like under 2/10 between them. But yeah, I'd possibly agree with you, because if you are starting on that front row in that first heat, you have a very, very good chance into that first corner, especially at a track like Hungary, where, you have that run down into turn one, you get a bit of slipstream, and you have a good chance just to send it up the inside. Yeah, Pagotto was able to benefit in Heat 1 just from getting an amazing start, and that's what he did.
He sure did. I wonder if we can have, well, actually, we might be able to see our final results as well for that race. Just a quick recap of exactly what the final results were. Of course, like we said, Pagotto was able to take the race. Then behind him, Sandstrom, and then Platt running up the podium ahead of his teammate K-Back. Great result for Geeks Energy Sim Racing. Arvidsson, Glamstetter, Simonson, Spence atop of the Yams, Postrup, Diodone, Coulson, Zwemstra, Boberg, Lee and Schnabel rounding out the 15 cars. And we have got a chat with Jesper Sandstrom, who joins us now. Jesper, unlucky out there. It looked like once you started that A final in second place, it was sort of out of your hands. We were just discussing, is it better to qualify in third position rather than second position? Because it certainly seemed to be a slight advantage for Pagotto tonight to be in that Heat 1, because it gave him the chance to start on pole position for the A final.
Yes, I'd agree on that. I was faster in the early stages of the race for sure, but there was no way through, and then the pace evened out and I lost my opportunities to try and make a move. So yeah, it's quite obviously better to qualify third than second.
Talk us through those slight opportunities you had in the A final. We saw you kind of have a slight look at a couple of places. In hindsight, was there anything different that you could have done to maybe make the move, or was it just completely impossible to pass?
Not really, no. I mean, he's a very consistent and good driver. If he would have made a tiny mistake on either of those exits leading up to my almost decent opportunities, I would probably have been able to pull it off, but he had good traction on the crucial exits, and hence I was stuck behind.
And how did you find the warm track temperature tonight? I mean, 51 degrees is pretty much as slippery as this circuit will ever get. Is it something that you have to really change a lot in the F3? Do you have to drive it in a different way, or is it only minor changes that you have to make with the setup to deal with it best?
I mean, it was the same last season, so I just used my baseline setup from last season, threw on some mods, and it worked out pretty well instantly. But yeah, it would have been more fun in colder temps, obviously with more grip.
Yes, hopefully the remaining rounds will be a little bit cooler for the grip to be a bit better out there. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Jesper. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
To the team, as per usual.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Jesper, and well, best of luck for next week at Aragon.
Thank you.
There is Olkentech NHR by Nymon Racing. Jesper Sandstrom joining us there, and well, I think we have a chat with Dylan Platt next. I'll hand him over to you, Anne.
Well, I always love to talk to a fellow Brit, and Dylan, it was a fairly simple race from what it looked like. A third place, I believe it's your best finish so far this season. Just you came under a bit of pressure there from Kybak, your teammate, but you know, was the game plan always just to come home and finish comfortably in third and fourth?
Yeah, well, after Isaac, had his unfortunate incident, it happens. It was a great battle up until that point. Then I gave my teammate a choice. Do you want to fight me or do you want to just stay behind? And props to him, you know, he was quicker and he stayed behind, and it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, playing the team game, I think, is just really important at a track like this. And yeah, a third place for you. Would you say it was one of your better drives this season, or do you think you probably could have done maybe a bit better? Asking a lot, but you can be modest.
Yeah, I think I could have done a bit better. You know, this is one of the races where I had probably the least practice. So funny enough, it happened to have my best result. You know, if I actually practiced, I don't know where I would have finished.
I mean, fair enough. No practice and getting a good result is always one of the better feelings in sim racing. But
or the worst.
Yeah, true. Because it's like, I could have done that bit better.
Yeah.
But heading into next week, are you gonna possibly practice a bit more for Aragon and get a better result?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know the track at all, so it's going to be a massive learning experience. I think that's probably going to be the same for most drivers, you know?
Yeah, I have to agree. It's, of course, you know, one of the more recent additions to iRacing, and it's going to be, it's going to show who's the most skilled probably in this series. But before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, obviously my teammate Michael, you know, he won in Pro-Am. You know, he's faster than me pretty much all around. So he just did insanely good, you know.
I always appreciate to shout out the teammates, and congratulations on your podium, and good luck for next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, so that was Dylan Platt, and yeah, what a fantastic day it is for Geeks Energy Sim Racing to be able to get that result, and what a brilliant day as well it was for Garrett Spence, who joins us now. Garrett, I mean, well done, and we were on the edge of our seat because, you know, I think it was Road America where you were so close to getting into the A final, but it didn't quite happen. You know, we were anxious in that heat. In case something went wrong, we were anxious in the A final, but you drove absolutely faultlessly. Whilst everyone else was falling off the circuit, you seemingly made pretty much no mistakes out there tonight. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's been really frustrating the last few weeks, just not being on pace ever since, Road America, and just making mistakes left and right myself, honestly. And then this week, you know, I felt like I finally had some good pace. It was great with No Limits guys working on helping me really dial it back in and refocus. And then I think it all kind of just lined up. And then managing to stay out of the chaos today really meant everything. Being able to get into the final from the heat, you know, that's a ton of stress gone. And then just trying to drive faultlessly. Ended up getting a little bit of damage, but no, it's just the track was super hot and it was really fun to drive and had some really fun battles, even though we weren't necessarily towards the front of the race. But in my own race, obviously I cannot be upset with where I finished.
Absolutely not. I mean, like, your consistency in that heat in particular was really impressive because we saw you under pressure the whole way. There was a bit of an incident in the A final, I think, involving Andy Lee perhaps as well, who just spun in front of you. I mean, take us through that incident, because at that point our hearts were in our mouths slightly. Yeah,
it was a bit frustrating because I had just gone wide through turn 4 and got myself a slowdown. And I knew Andy was, you know, right on my tail the entire time. So I knew he was going to send it. I obviously had to back out with the slowdown. And then I had my teammate right behind me too. So I'm communicating with him, trying to be like, you know, let's not ruin each other's races, etc. And then, I'm not exactly sure what happened with Andy and Christian. I think it might have been a little bit of just wrong place at the wrong time, and really all of us kind of pushing, and while I'm trying to not get a penalty. And then unfortunately, yeah, Andy spun out and collected me a little bit, and that's where I ended up getting the damage. But I think he did a pretty good drive for the most part, and it was a little unfortunate that our battle ended the way that it did. I was kind of looking forward to seeing how in such a long race our setups might have come back, or being able to compare ourselves a little bit one-on-one on track. But hopefully next week we can have a good battle again.
Yeah, it seems like both of you have really elevated your levels for tonight, so hopefully you can both keep up that form for the rest of the season. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Yeah,
I'd love to give a shout out to my team. They've been really welcoming and supportive, and we've already done one 24-hour race together, and tomorrow we're doing another, and I think it's just been, they've really got me excited to do more racing and different races, and so really big shout out to them for just being a great team.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Garrett, and best of luck. You can keep up this form, and maybe go for the AMP title this season.
That's the goal. Thanks.
Garrett Spence there for No Limits Sim Racing Academy. And we also have Håkon Coulson who joins us as well. Of course, Coulson had an absolutely fantastic result tonight. And I'll pass him over to you, Aaron.
Gladly, Coulson. Towards the end of that A final, you were struggling a little bit there for pace, but I think at that point you were probably just trying to pick up as many points as possible to get into this Pro-Am Championship. So, Coulson, going into that A final, were you rather just hoping just avoid everyone and just try and bag as many points as you can?
Oh, well, hey guys, yes, that was very much my approach into the A final. But then, unfortunately, I think I got netcoded on the big crash there, and I got a meatball. So took the quick repair, and then I had to fight off 2 pros, which absolutely destroyed my tires. And I was you remember the camera stuff from the B final? At the finish line, that was pretty much just my whole race, my whole day. Wiping the sweat off my forehead and stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, you worked extra hard for that result, especially in that B final. I don't think you could have really done too much better, to be honest. And yeah, how much practice then did you put in for this race?
For this race, I mean, I'm a working man, so I can't sit in the sim all day like the pros do. But I try to come here every evening and practice some. But it also helped that this track was a part of my national championship where I got second place. So I had some experience here and I won the round here. So yeah, this is a good track for me, and I think I at least proved something here today, that I'm not completely useless.
Well, you definitely are not. You did really well, and I think anybody who says otherwise is just lying. But going into next week at Aragon, it's a new track for a lot of people, to be honest. Are you hoping that maybe you can go even better than you did here?
Definitely. I think Aragon, I bought it the moment it came out, and I tried to drive it a lot. So I think I have a leg up on some of the midfield. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it and the rest of the season. And it looks like it's a very competitive field and a very fun group of guys to race. So yeah, very much looking forward to everything.
I mean, we're looking forward to even more. It's so entertaining watching these guys race. But Coulson, before we let you go, mate, is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Andra, my girlfriend, she's here helping me. Support animal.
Support them.
That was the wrong word, but you know. But anyway, thank you guys.
Thank you, Coulson, and good luck for next week.
Thank you.
Cool. So that was a really good result there from Håkon to get into the A final the way that he did, and of course after running out of fuel in his heat as well to get through in that B final, you can understand the satisfaction on his face when he wiped the sweat off his brow. But of course, yeah. Next up, Aragon. I mean, what an interesting race that's going to be, because we don't know what to expect. I pride myself on knowing so many different track layouts, and of course I have watched MotoGP in the past as well, and of course that's a regular is Aragon on the schedule. I must admit, I don't actually know what the track layout is. I mean, I can remember different corners, but I can't piece it exactly all together, as I'm sure many of the drivers are in a similar state, or even worse when it comes to that. So potentially high track temperatures as well. Again, there is really not an easy circuit from what I've seen. I mean, elevation change, off tracks could be a trouble as well. So I think that's if guys can do the practice that as much practice as they can, then they could be really dangerous. I think in that round we could have a very different order to what we're used to.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. I mean, you know, new tracks are always, you know, there just to throw a bit of spice and try and fuel the flame in this championship. And yeah, like Sam said, I think we're going to have a different running order. Pros might more or less be the same. I think we'll see familiar names up at the top, but who knows, maybe some drivers might absolutely love the track who hate the rest of the tracks on the iRacing service, who knows. But I'm looking forward to it. New tracks are always entertaining to watch, they're entertaining to drive, and if you know, some drivers come into this race, well, next time out with no practice, prayers.
Yeah, they're going to really struggle, aren't they? I mean, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating one to see how the pecking order changes for Aragon. We are going to find that out in just a week's time. No break week this time. We are back next Friday for round 5 of the championship. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, and from Aaron Smith as well, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back in a week's time in Spain. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.